to talk to you about the Dorado Community Foundation. The Dorado Community Foundation, as Nancy mentioned, celebrates 35 years this year in 2026. Today we're going to talk about what a community foundation is, the journey over the last 35 years, and then where we are headed. So we'll talk for about 40-ish minutes, and at the end of 40 minutes, then I will open up to Q&A. Does that sound like a good plan? All right. They gave me a clicker. So the mission of the Community Foundation is to strengthen our community now and for future generations. We do this in a variety of ways. But first and foremost, what is a community foundation? When you think of a community foundation, and this is just an in-person thoughtful question, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Money. Good. Community. What else? Charity. Those are wonderful things. So according to the internet, money is the number one. There you go. Great job, Sierra Renaissance Society. Community, which we heard from the room as well. And then thirdly, online, Bill and Melinda Gates was a really big trending response there. So a community foundation exists to bring in donations from individuals, from businesses, from families, and hold those funds to create a charitable long-term endowment that serves for the betterment of our community through funding programs, 501c3s, community benefit organizations, to truly make wonderful impact right here where we live. So, why does that matter? Why do we need community foundations? Community foundations are experts in local needs. We serve as a catalyst around so many different needs in our community. We have nonprofits that do trainings with us. They're coming to us. They're reading us in on their struggles. We have individuals who come to us in need of assistance. We have individuals who come to us looking for tax-exempt vehicles and looking to have donor-advised funds that can help support them. We have school districts and community organizations and county government coming to the Community Foundation to read us in on a variety of different projects. So in that catalyst position, we become experts in community needs. So when individuals come to a community foundation and they open a fund there, a donor-advised fund with us, oftentimes they're coming to us to be more strategic in their giving. They're really looking to us to say, well, what are the greatest needs right now? Where can I make the biggest impact? So we understand local needs to support our community. We bring people together. As I said, we're a catalyst around major community issues. So we're able to pair, oh, you have this need, nonprofit, and I just so happened to recently speak to a donor or another nonprofit who also has a similar struggle. So where can we all work together? We really encourage collaboration. And then, of course, we build permanent charitable assets to support our community. We build what we refer to in the industry as assets under management. Our charitable endowment at the Dorado Community Foundation is about $39 million. And those assets are truly intended in perpetuity to continue to invest and ensure that the programs that are coming to all of our community members, the kids, our aging population, our animals, that everyone has an opportunity to be taken care of. Does that make sense? Okay. So we know what a community foundation is. We talked about why it matters. So let's talk about the philanthropic cycle around a community foundation and how it really works. So donors give to a community foundation. Generally speaking, most of our private funds have come to the foundation because we have individuals that are very passionate about community, who are charitable in giving, and oftentimes also looking for some tax advantage tools to help defer capital gains taxes from sales of business, from appreciated stocks. There's a variety of different ways to engage with a donor-advised fund to help support your community. Those funds that we hold are invested, and they continue to grow. And with all of the funds that are invested and with the funds that we hold, we grant back to our community. Donors decide. The donors who hold funds with us, they are driving these dollars right here in this pot of money. Our donors make all of the impact of the El Dorado Community Foundation truly possible. We could not do what we do without all of the funds that we hold. So our donors distribute grants, and through those grants, we strengthen community. We find solutions to help around housing, to help around our local community hospitals, to help around our kids. And when we have a strong community, what does that foster? Future opportunities for donors. So it is a cycle that continues to elevate and build capacity for a stronger El Dorado County. Good, all right. That's the end of my presentation. No, just kidding. So we know what a community foundation is, we know why it matters, and we understand the cycle of philanthropy within a community foundation. So when we knew all of those things, 35 years ago, in 1991, the El Dorado Community Foundation was established because it mattered, because we wanted to see this cycle grow, because we wanted El Dorado community to continue to thrive in generations to come. So it is our 35th anniversary. The official 35th anniversary gift is coral, in case any of you want to make a gift to the Foundation of Coral. No? I do like stones a lot. What we've learned in 35 years is that we are the foundation. Every single one of us. Every single one of you in this room as members of Sierra Renaissance Society, you are the foundation. Sierra Renaissance Society is a fund at the El Dorado Community Foundation. You are participating. You are making lifelong learning possible. If you are a Women's Fund member, you are the foundation. If you are a donor-advised fund holder, you are the foundation. Oh, my slide dropped my N over here. We are the El Dorado Community Foundation. Our community members, our fund holders, our donors, our recipients of grants, everyone that we're impacting, all together makes the El Dorado Community Foundation possible. So let's reflect a little bit on 35 years, shall we? My slides got a little messed up, but that's okay. We're gonna roll with it. In 1993, the El Dorado Community Foundation opened our first scholarship fund. In 1994, the first awards came out of the foundation. In 1995, we hired our first executive director. And in 1996, we opened one of our first public donor-advised funds. And so when I say we are the foundation, let's look at a few faces that correlate with these dates. One of our first donor-advised funds, Carter Kelly Inc., came to the Community Foundation very early in our establishment. They made huge impacts to continue to foster ongoing giving through charitable gifts. They came to us as a business fund, right, as Carter Kelly Inc., as the Community Foundation continued to grow and bring in new donor-advised funds. Our first executive director, Steve Healy, pictured here with a very important figure for the Community Foundation as well, Ms. Pam Hagan, came to us as well and worked for the foundation doing communications, doing administration. If you may have had the privilege of seeing Pam present, you might recall her walking around with her umbrella everywhere. Did anyone ever see that one? Yes? Yeah, a couple of us. So these are some of the early faces as the Community Foundation grew and grew. We continued this growth through transparency. In 1998, what we can find was our first annual report. The foundation instituted our first public annual report. And by 2001, just about 10 years old, we surpassed $5 million then in assets under management. That long-term charitable asset, that egg, that seedling that was planted 10 years before had grown to $5 million. In 2004, we had then just about 100 different funds under our umbrella. So in just 13 years, $5 million, 100 different funds. Incredible growth during this time. Just a few years later, in 2007 and 2008, we had some significant changes for the foundation that really put us on the map. Can anyone in the room take a guess what those might be? Women's Fund El Dorado, great, good. Anything else? Hired Executive Director Bill Roby. So in 2007, I'm sure Bill has not approved this picture yet, so maybe we don't tell him that this was here today. But we had our leadership evolution. Bill Roby came in as the executive director around this same time. Bill really spearheaded collective giving. Women's Fund El Dorado was founded. This made a huge difference in access to the El Dorado Community Foundation. Suddenly, instead of the El Dorado Community Foundation just being donors with donor-advised funds who had a threshold of about $10,000 to open an account, now we had access to philanthropy through just as little as $200. So the collective giving movement was born. Bill Roby was a huge part of that, and he understood the mission when he got hired as the executive director, to truly grow the foundation and our assets under management. So over the next 17 years or so, he did just that. And here again, my slides are a little altered, but these are what I quite literally call our building years. The foundation moved into the building that we have as our permanent home in 2012. This building was a wonderful, generous gift in partnership with Joyce Amlick, and it is a huge key piece of the sustainability of the El Dorado Community Foundation. Because we live there, because our offices are there, and because we have tenants, we're able to diversify our operational income stream. So this was a really key piece to the sustainability of the foundation. In 2014, we had then brought forward $1 million in grants to our community since inception. So just about 15 years later, let me do the math. 20 years later, we had gotten to $1 million in grants since inception. I'm sorry, my mistake. $1 million in this 1 year, $11 million grants since inception in 2016. Yes, Emma Jean.
Are those direct grants from the Community Foundation, or does that include the donor-advised funds and women's funds?
Whenever the community, so Emma Jean's question was, do those figures include just grants from the Community Foundation, or does it include all of our funds? Whenever the El Dorado Community Foundation quotes dollars that have been awarded, generally, I'm gonna say 99% of the time, those figures are all of our funds, all consolidated funds. And we'll get into the breakdown of those funds a little bit later. So, in 2020 and 2021, the El Dorado Community Foundation then really put ourselves in the map because we engaged around emergency response. So we were selected in partnership with El Dorado County to run some ARPA funding grants for COVID-19 funds to businesses and nonprofits. And the Community Foundation ran that as a competitive type grant cycle and deployed millions of dollars during COVID-19. In 2021, just the very next year, we had the Caldor Fire. Caldor Fire devastated our community, and the Community Foundation was put on the map nationally at this point because we became the reciprocal of funds to support Caldor recovery. And the Community Foundation did a fantastic job of awarding these dollars out in a very short period of time. We awarded millions and millions of dollars in Caldor Fire recovery money. Yes, Emma Jean.
Does that mean that you were receiving federal and state grants or funds?
So Emma G's question was, does that mean we were receiving federal and state government funds? For COVID-19 funding, the foundation did receive a pass-through from the county. For the Caldor Fire, no. Those were all community donations, businesses, corporations that were large donors, but we did not receive any government funds for Caldor Fire recovery. No, not at all. So, moving forward and looking back, in that time, in those 17 years when Bill Roby was the director, when Women's Fund El Dorado had taken off, when collective giving then became a model for so many other of our funds to make philanthropy more accessible, we are the foundation truly continued to grow. The faces of who made up the foundation increased significantly. We see so many beloved community members up here. We had drums at the Placerville Shakespeare Club. We were involved in the very first building campaign for the Boys and Girls Club. We made huge impacts during this time. And the foundation's collective we continued to grow. So where are we now? Oh, nope, now you get a pop quiz. Okay, pop quiz. Are you ready? What year was the foundation established? Good job. What year was Women's Fund established? If you are a Women's Fund member, you shouldn't be able to answer this question. If you are not a Women's Fund member or sitting at this table, what year was Women's Fund El Dorado established? Any? 2007. And then when I say who is the foundation, we, yes, great job. We are the El Dorado Community Foundation. So here we are now in the present, our current team, right? We've gone through another significant leadership transition for the El Dorado Community Foundation. I am the third director in 35 years. That's pretty amazing, you guys. 35 years and only on the third director. Like, we are definitely continuing to do something right at the El Dorado Community Foundation. We have a wonderful, small but mighty team, many of whom interact likely with many of you in this room through a variety of different reasons, sometimes through your Sierra Renaissance membership, your Women's Fund El Dorado membership, your donor advised fund, or we have a lot of benevolent giving hearts who also attend a lot of our nonprofit events and support our community in a variety of ways. So we've got Hillary Mulligan, who does donor services. Kathy Haven lives in the Basin. She directs all of our grants and scholarships. Chris Ringness is our PR and communications manager. Sharon Ballantyne is our friendly face right at the front door, so you probably interact with Sharon most frequently. Sakina Mataswala is our CFO, and now I've been here, this is the start of my third year as the director of the foundation. So let's talk a little bit more about how we are working now. We talked about 30-ish years until we got here. And now in 35 years, what does the practical application of our mission look like now? When I say we strengthen our community now and for generations to come, we do this generally in a three-pronged approach. So most frequently, we live in this top space. We grow philanthropic dollars for the benefit of our community. That is why we are here. Remember, when we were established, it was to do just exactly this. We have flexible tax-exempt vehicles, donor-advised funds, that help donors give a variety of their interests and passions. We exist in that emergency response space. We talked about Caldor Fire, we talked about COVID-19. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then we are a catalyst and convener and partner in shaping effective solutions for our community. We are called upon as a community leader by government agencies, by nonprofits. We often are one of the first organizations to hear about large community needs. And we also help serve in leadership to train our nonprofits so that our nonprofits can continue to do great work. So that's our three-prong approach to our mission. Let's dive in a little deeper. Emergency response funding. We talked about the COVID-19 pandemic. We talked about Caldor Fire. Some of you may recall the really tragic incident with the Brooks Brothers mountain lion attack in 2004, March 2004. So the Community Foundation, in coordination with the Brooks family, was able to establish the Brooks Brothers Support Fund. That support fund paid all funeral expenses for the brother who had passed and continues to support the surviving brother to this day. Later that same year, 2004, the summer, the Crozier fire hit in Georgetown. We had many Georgetown residents who were evacuated for several days, so the Community Foundation was able to respond with about $115,000 in assistance to support those who had been evacuated and impacted from that fire. Additionally, always, through all times of year, we maintain 3 crisis funds: Crisis Angel, Shelby's Helping Hand, and the Lighthouse Fund. These funds are intended to support gaps in needs. So Women's Fund El Dorado is the administrator of the Lighthouse Fund, but that does, again, start under the umbrella of the El Dorado Community Foundation. Shelby's Helping Hand and Crisis Angels, the foundation supports these directly with our team. And how this works is if you have an individual in need of assistance, what we're seeing a lot of these days is single parents who have a few children in their home and maybe are several months behind on their PG&E, or maybe their car is broken down, or maybe they don't have enough money to pay their gas bill. So they partner with a nonprofit who refers them to these programs. They go through an application process, and there are several different requirements for the application. And with those applications, we're able to provide one-time funding to essentially get those individuals to a sustainable place in time, right? So that their PG&E stays on, their power stays on, their gas stays on, perhaps they're able to get the vehicle repair that they need. And this is an ongoing thing that we offer all throughout the year. This over here that's moving in the corner is making sure that I am very clear that the El Dorado Community Foundation cannot provide direct assistance to one individual. Per our IRS regulations, we cannot just pay a check to Paul when Paul needs help. First of all, he's our board president, so there's a conflict. Second of all, we cannot do individual assistance. So how does it work then, Amy, that we were able to support these individuals, right? How does it work that we can do crisis funds? So for crisis funds, we pay the provider. If it's a vehicle repair, we pay the vehicle repair company. If it's PG&E, we pay PG&E. For these other funds, there are emergency exceptions. So when it is a true time of emergency, that is the only time that we give individual assistance. Most frequently in the past, that has looked like gift cards. So we weren't doing millions and millions of dollars of individual checks during Caldor Fire. We were able to secure a large amount of gift cards and give those out to individuals for assistance. Okay. Moving on, community leadership. So this is where we continue to answer the call for help. We volunteer when we're needed, but predominantly in this space, it's because individuals have come to us and said, please help, can you help? A really good example of this was in 2024, the county came to the Community Foundation and said, we're really struggling to find strategies around housing. Can the Community Foundation help? I am not a housing expert. None of my team serves as a housing expert, and the Community Foundation's not really in this space to serve as a housing authority. But what we can do is go out to our community and help get community voices and understand the issues so that we can help build strategies. So the community asked us to engage, our county did, so we were able to answer that call to help around those needs. We help support our nonprofits through a variety of trainings and grant funding, events, and how we've really started approaching this is going to our nonprofits and asking them, what are your needs and how can we help? So we do a survey to our nonprofits and we ask them, what do you need from us? What are we doing well and where can we grow? Obviously, the number one thing that they tell us is that they want money. So there's that. But also they're saying we want trainings on board development and marketing and Fundraising, of course. So to answer the call to help, this year we are doing our first ever conference. It's called the Amplify Good Conference, and we're doing that to support our nonprofits with training. We do other fun events throughout the year to bring our nonprofits together. We do one that's called Philanthropy on Tap. Philanthropy on Tap is a great, very casual event where our nonprofits come and they talk about their greatest need and their mission in about 90 seconds. They each get 90 seconds to give their best elevator speech. And why we love this event is because what's happening is our nonprofits are coming together, they're stepping out of their regular business, and they're able to start naturally collaborating. Because when I'm up there in 90 seconds and I say my greatest need is a mental health coordinator, and then later on someone says my greatest need is a mental health coordinator too, how can we work together? Or my greatest need is a mental health coordinator. Oh, and I also have one that I employ part-time, perhaps we can help work together on this. So the natural collaboration that's coming to strengthen our nonprofits has been essential and inspiring, and will continue to be necessary in these upcoming years for their survival. We are true leaders in celebrating the community that we live in and promoting local good. So now let's jump in to the bulk of our work, right? Growing philanthropic dollars, truly the top tenet of our mission and what we do. So as we covered, we were established in 1991. 2026 is our 35th anniversary. At this point, again, when you think of the El Dorado Community Foundation like an umbrella, we have 320 different unique funds under the umbrella of the El Dorado Community Foundation. 320 funds that represent 320 different passions, different community members, different faces, different people. This is the we too. We are 320 different funds making impacts. Our total donations into the foundation from those 320 funds, all of them combined, is about $5-ish million a year. Our total average grants back out is roughly $2.6 to $3 million a year back to our nonprofits. And like I said very early in the presentation, we've grown that permanent charitable endowment to about $39 million. So let's talk about this one for a little bit, because we get a lot of questions about, well, why are you sitting on $39 million? The community has so many needs, right? But when we go back to about 25 minutes ago, and we talk about why a community foundation matters, it is so that we can continue to have these charitable long-term gifts in perpetuity. These assets under management are what sustain us through economic hardships, through years where our nonprofits are losing significant contractual funding. Who are they going to rely on? They are going to rely on local community funders. They are going to rely on 320 different funds to make gifts. They are going to rely on our 15 different competitive grant cycles to continue to give right now more than ever, because it matters. So does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
How could I find out who those 320 philanthropic funds are?
So the question is, how do you find out how or who makes up the 320 funds? So there's a few different ways for that. Not all 320 of those funds are public. Some individuals who give to us and have funds with us choose to stay anonymous and private, and we absolutely respect that. Other than that, they're publicly facing donor-advised funds. We highlight them in a variety of our annual reports, and then if you go on our website and you go to donate, you can see a large bulk of public-facing donor-advised funds from us as well. Okay? All right, moving on. So let's talk about those 320 funds a little bit more. Generally speaking, this is a little bit dated, But these donor-advised funds, these are private individuals and families who hold funds with the foundation. This is a majority of all of the holdings that we have. It's about 40, it's actually closer since this data to 45% at this time. So almost half of all of the funds that we hold are private families who have donor-advised funds, who have endowments, who have scholarships, who are giving through the community foundation. Committee funds and field of interest funds. These are funds that sit under the community foundation for us to serve as their administrators. This is a Women's Fund El Dorado. They're doing wonderful philanthropic work. They want to continue to do wonderful philanthropic work, but they don't want to be administrators and they don't want to pay for staff. So that's where we are serving in that role. This also happens to be a Sierra Renaissance Society. You are doing fantastic things around lifelong learning. You sit under this same category. Geographic area funds are exactly what that sounds like. There are funds and there are endowments that sit with us to provide programs back to our community in that specific geographic area. So Give Tahoe is a very good example of this. Give Tahoe runs a competitive grant cycle. It is an endowment that sits with the foundation. And all of the funds and programs that they fund are dedicated to serving the basin. Designated agency funds, this is a large percentage of the funds that we hold as well. These are organizations who have their own 501c3. They are standalone nonprofits, but they choose to also open funds with the foundation for a variety of different reasons. Predominantly, it's because the foundation is their long-term legacy giving plan. So most of these nonprofit funds are endowment funds that are held on behalf of other 501c3s so that if they receive a large endowment gift or a large estate gift, they can park it with us, know it's invested with a strong investment team, receive gains on those, and continue to make grants back to themselves only. These funds are payable back to the 501c3s only in perpetuity. And then last but not least, special projects. So special projects are funds that come to us because they are generally looking for support around a major, large community project, a capital campaign, something that will make a huge benefit for our community, so it aligns with our mission, but it has a sunset. So we're gonna bring in funds, we're going to help the Placerville Co-op buy their building, and when they buy their building and they close escrow this week, that fund closes. So special projects have a sunset. Does anyone know who this is? Raise your hand if you know who this is. Mindy, good job. I spoke at the chamber yesterday, and I asked them the same question. This is Scrooge McDuck. He is based off of Christmas Carol, right? Why am I blanking on the name? Christmas Carol, but Ebenezer Scrooge. There we go. Right? So he holds all of his money. He loves money. This guy literally quite swims in money. So this is not us. And it's always really important for me to note that. First of all, I'm a horrible swimmer, so let's just get that out on the table. I'm not sitting in my office counting our $39 million every single day and just really pleased with all the dollars that we're sitting. We are champions for our community, working to deploy dollars out the most that we possibly can to continue to support the wonderful nonprofits and programs that we believe in. So that is what we do. Our donors and our funds drive over 97% of all of the dollars that we give out. So when we look back at this slide and we talk about this figure here, 97% of those dollars are decided upon by the individuals or the families who hold those funds. Less than 3% of all of the funds that go out from the foundation every single year is decided upon solely by the El Dorado Community Foundation. And even with that, that is not Amy Pooley deciding on those funds. We have a wonderful comprehensive grants committee that oversees the small amount of competitive grants coming directly from the foundation. So 97%, that's pretty incredible, right? That is, again, why we are the foundation. Every donor who makes all of these things possible. So where are we headed? What's the future look like, right? We talked about why it was important. We talked about our journey. We talked about where we're at. We saw some really fun pictures. Let me get to where we're headed. Biggest goals, because community foundations respond to ongoing needs, right now are to continue to increase our impact. We know, because we serve as that catalyst, that there are so many needs right now. Our basic needs and services around human services are high. Those crisis funds that I talked about earlier, we are seeing record requests and funding for those needs. We have nonprofits coming to us at least weekly, sometimes multiple times a week right now, about the loss of contract funding. So everyone is really trying to work hard together to rally around continuing community support. So where we are headed in the future of philanthropy is, how do we as a community foundation respond? How do we look at our funding models, look at our policies, and find different ways that we can engage to make bigger impacts to help fill those gaps? Because that is our responsibility, and that is why we are here. We're remaining relevant to our industry by doing so. We will continue to maintain all of the great work that we're doing. I think it's important just to say the future of philanthropy does not discount the successful model that we've been running for 35 years. We didn't get to $39 million in assets and multiple $1 million a year and 320 funds and 35 years of successful proven track record on accident. So we will continue to honor the model of the traditional grant making, but we're going to continue to be more strategic. When we talk about increasing impact, it's looking at our policies, it's looking at our spending policies, but it's also looking at how are we bringing others into this model? How can we be more creative? How are we working with our government agencies? How are we working with our businesses, right? Being more strategic to continue to give out more dollars. We know the next generation gives and thinks about philanthropy differently. So how are we engaging around that? Our donor engagement needs to include multiple generation touch points, right? And then we need to continue to be agile to continue to meet those needs as they're changing. So the future of the philanthropy for the El Dorado Community Foundation is, how are we increasing our impact through giving? All right, so speaking of which, speaking of strategic partners, let's talk about a few recent community projects that we've been really busy doing over the last few years. So, Engage El Dorado, we talked a little bit about this already. So this is the initiative where the Community Foundation was called by the county and asked to serve as the community business or community-based organization around collecting voices to support and create strategies around housing. So we've been working on that really diligently through 2025. We collected just over 1,000 different touches and responses from our community with these efforts, and we are interested to see where that takes us. We will work with the Housing Task Force, which is a task force for the county, El Dorado County Planning, and a paid housing consultant to now start in 2026 to develop strategies. We are working on the Grizzly Flats Community Center in close coordination with South County Alliance. South County Alliance was one of those fields of interest and committee funds that was born out of the devastation of the Caldor fire. So this is a group of individuals who came together committed to the rehabilitation of Grizzly Flats. They now have, several years later, graduated. They have their own 501c3, but we are working in close coordination to see the Grizzly Flats Community Center come to fruition. The Community Foundation engaged around helping the South County Alliance purchase property that will be the future site of this community foundation in the future. Bridge Meadows is in its infancy stage. Bridge Meadows is an intergenerational housing community that pairs our aging community with foster families. There's proven successful models. I need some water, just a second. All right, thank you. There are proving successful models of Bridge Meadows that are established and working very well in Oregon. They're trying to come to California. Should we bring this to California, it will be the first Bridge Meadows community in California, and we're excited for that. It is a wonderful forward-thinking project. Our role, again, in this infancy still, is to try to bring it forward, and we're trying to work on the future land site of that right now. The Landing, hopefully most of you have heard of this, is the 40-acre proposed sports park that's actually just right down the road from here. Boys and Girls Club took ownership of this project about 2 years ago. They've been involved in it for a long time. This is an 8-year conversation and project that has been going on, but over the last 2 years, it's really started to pick up steam. The Community Foundation is the fiscal agent on this project. That means that we hold the dollars for this special project fund. It has a sunset, right? And we will continue to help support that project where we can. The biggest goal here is when Sean's out raising money for Boys and Girls Club, he's not intermingling the Landing dollars with operational Boys and Girls Club dollars. So we keep those separate for transparency, and the foundation holds the money on the Landing. We talked about the co-op campaign. Hopefully most of you have been tracking along with the success of this wonderful initiative. Jacob over at the co-op had the opportunity to purchase the building. To do so, he needed to raise about $140,000 in 90 days. And he had some real concerns about this when we first met, but we were able to do a special project fund with him and get that to completion a few weeks ago. We closed escrow with that this week, and we'll transfer those funds out. Nonprofit training. Our Amplify Good conference is coming up April 16th in the Basin. This is intended to support our nonprofits. So if you are interested in attending, if you're a nonprofit board member, if you have a nonprofit that you love, please come up. We have breakout sessions around what was defined by our nonprofits in marketing, board development, and fundraising happening at that day. And then last but not least, if you've had the opportunity to engage with me at all personally, you know that I'm crazy for NCAA college basketball. So we developed Match Madness to coordinate and coincide with March Madness, of which, do you guys raise your hand if you do March Madness? Anyone? Okay. Who do you have, Imogene, taking it all? Arizona. Okay. Miss Peak?
I have to go for Duke.
Duke. Who do you have taking it all, Katie? Gonzaga. Okay. That's a bold choice, Mrs. Peak. Not gonna lie. I have Duke taking it all also. I think I picked Duke most years. But Match Madness runs in correlation with March Madness. So what we do this year, we are overjoyed that the foundation is giving away $10,000 to participating, or not to all participating, to the top performing participating nonprofits in this initiative. Donors give to their favorite nonprofits through our Match Madness website portal, and through those gifts, the top performing organization for the number of donations, as well as the largest dollar amount, will receive the top prizes in matching dollars for that. So that runs now through April 3rd. So how can you amplify good with the Community Foundation? How can you engage with the Community Foundation? If you're not doing so already, I know many of you in this room do. You engage with the foundation just by being a Sierra Renaissance member. But here's some other ideas in case you are looking for inspiration. The easiest way to engage with the Community Foundation is to open a donor-advised fund. It's lovely. We serve as your concierge philanthropist, is what I like to say. We are here to make sure that the donations that you are giving are impactful, that they are followed up with, that the nonprofits that you give to are in good standing with the IRS and the DOJ and the Secretary of State. We're truly working on behalf of our donors all the time. Another opportunity is to join our Legacy Society. Our Legacy Society is a group of individuals in the community who have committed to bettering our community by leaving a gift to the Community Foundation in their estate. The Community Foundation is named in their estate sometimes as a direct operational gift, but sometimes it's a legacy gift to us that comes to us to steward out in perpetuity in support of other organizations that you love. We're just here to make sure that that happens. If you haven't yet, join a collective giving fund like Women's Fund El Dorado, right? Engage around philanthropy for as little as $200 a year. Women's Fund El Dorado is approaching their 20th anniversary here at 19, right? Gives out about $100,000 a year to nonprofits through a competitive grant process. Their structure and growth over the last 19 years has inspired 2 other collective giving funds. So the foundation also houses El Dorado Hills Area Foundation and Tahoe Women's Community Fund, who are also powerhouse grant makers. So lots of different ways to get involved around collective giving. Serve as a committee if you're interested, members. Serve on a committee for the foundation and or one of our affiliates to get close and try to understand how we function and what the needs are. Join Friends of the Foundation. Friends of the Foundation are individuals in the community who support our operations directly with a gift of $100 or more every year. And then attend our events and participate in our community giving initiatives. So participate in things like Match Madness, attend Philanthropy on Tap, attend the conference if that's for you. We have a lot of fun, I promise. We have really good food, really good wine usually. So it's a lot of fun to be at, so attend our events and show up when you can. So with that said, everything that we do, everything that we talked about today, our journey to get to this point, the grants that we give out, the assets that we hold, the funds that we have, the community members that we support, everything comes back to this idea. El Dorado Community Foundation exists to amplify good where we live. That is why we are here. And amplifying good where we live as a community foundation consists of a lot of different ways to do so. Predominantly, we do this through grant making. That's what we're known for, right? But we also engage where the community asks us to. And we show up to nonprofit events. We're truly here to ensure that the vibrancy of El Dorado County has the opportunity to exist in the future. So everything that we do, when you leave here today and someone asks you, oh, I heard the foundation spoke, what do? They amplify good in our community, right? That is why we're here. And amplifying good, again, right now matters more than ever. Being on the side of good, continuing to engage around goodness and wonderful, uplifting championships for El Dorado County right now is so important. It's easy right now. We live in a divided and imperfect nation, and it is easy to feel down. It is easy to bash what you hate instead of promoting what you love. And so amplifying good can look as simple as a community member as, yes, donating to your favorite nonprofit, but can also look like being more patient, listening more attentively, being less critical. There's a lot of different easy, attainable ways. Planting a garden to amplify good where we live. So now we have a group exercise. You'll have about 2 minutes to talk with someone at your table. And if talking's not for you, you can self-reflect on how in the next just 1 week, so this has to be an attainable goal. Mindy did this yesterday at the chamber. She's not allowed to say the same thing. It's an attainable goal in the next week that you will commit to to amplify good here in El Dorado County. So find someone at your table. You have 2 minutes. Ready and go. And we're done. All right. Does anyone have, or does anyone want to share what they are committing to doing?
We're going to church.
We're going to church. I love it. Okay, what else do we have? Any other ideas? Anything? Donate to Match Madness. I love it. Emma Jean, what else do we have? Anyone want to share theirs?
We're going out and pull invasive species out at the state park on the 25th.
Okay, tell me a little. You're going to, I don't hear all the.
To Marshall Gold Discovery State Park with the California State Parks Foundation and
Oh, great.
pull invasive species.
Oh, wonderful. Wow, that's incredible. Good for you. All right, anyone else? Last one.
I'm gonna sign up for the Women's Fund, April.
The ballot showcase. Ballot showcase, April 2nd. It is a free community event. It is a great way to learn about our nonprofits. You don't have to be a Women's Fund member to go. It's my favorite Women's Fund event. And I'm out of town, but I do love that one. All right, so in closing, I have a quote for you by Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is my most favorite quote of all time. I've had this quote in what was my binder since college. So what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child or a garden patch or a redeemed social condition. To know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So thank you so much for having me today. Hopefully you learned about the foundation and what we do. So now we will open it up to questions and answers. Yes, Mr. Zapatini.
So first of all, could you hold that mic a little bit lower?
Yes, Mr. Zapatini.
Quite as much feedback.
It's probably my earrings. Oh, these ones are little today.
I had a great question asked by Sarah Pender that I don't have the answer to off the top of my head, but you might.
Okay.
The question was, of all funds that the Community Foundation is overseeing, how much of those are endowed,
Ooh.
percentage-wise, versus expendable, which is like a checking account?
Yes. Great question. So the question was, of all of the 320 funds that we owe or that we hold, how many are endowed and how many are expendable? And I think Paul also added an endowed fund is an invested fund where the funds grow in perpetuity. It is a gift to continue to support our community long term. An expendable fund with the foundation is essentially like your philanthropic checking account. These are dollars that come to the foundation. They're usually spent in a shorter period of time. That was all to buy me time to tell you I don't actually know the answer to that question. So my quick gauge, Sarah Pender and Paul Zapatini, would be just based off of the numbers in my head that I know. Of that 39 million, about 27. Actually, I would say of that 39 million, about 33 is an endowed, 6 is an expendable. Yeah, most of our funds, the majority of our funds are endowed funds. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
So, Amy, all this work that the foundation has done over the years and the impacts that it has, you guys have a systematic way of evaluating and documenting those impacts?
So we receive impact reports from all of our competitive grants. So from our competitive grants, we receive reports back on exactly what you're saying. How many children did you serve? How many animals did you serve? How did we help you extend your hours? So those impact reports are our best gauge of that. Yeah.
And those are available?
Those are available not really publicly. Our strategy for communications on a go forward is to make sure that we are sharing those impacts back out. and truly then identifying, when we talk about all of the money that comes out, what we have made possible with that, right? But again, with the foundation taking ownership of that, it's truly what our donors have made possible, right? Our donors make everything that we do possible. So we are working towards making sure that we're sharing that more. You bet. Yes, sir.
Are organizations like the American River Conservancy part of the foundation?
Are organizations like the American River Conservancy part of the foundation? Yes. So when we talked about designated agency funds, American River Conservancy holds an endowment with the El Dorado Community Foundation that exists with us as part of their legacy giving plan that they sometimes fund as an organization. So the more that they feed their endowment, then they are growing their unrestricted dollars back to themselves in perpetuity.
So people would give directly to them and then they would put the money into the foundation?
Some people choose to give directly to the organization, and the organization chooses to fund their endowment. We have another fund, Family Resource Center, which is a fund in South Lake Tahoe. They're a nonprofit, and on all of their communications, they put that they have an endowment with the El Dorado Community Foundation. And we had a donor who has made a significant pledge and commitment to funding their endowment with us. That donor prefers to give directly to their endowment because that donor understands that they have operational dollars, but their goal is really to ensure that they've got a nest egg to continue on with their services on a go forward. So that donor prefers to give directly to the endowment. So it really is donor's preference. Yes, Mindy?
So, first of all, I want to thank the Dorado Community Foundation. You guys have been such a great partner with every nonprofit in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
You
for
bet.
the years that you served everyone.
Yeah.
For smaller nonprofits that may not be able to afford like a charitable gift annuity license,
Mhm.
or that doesn't have the sophistication to do like a charitable remainder trust,
Mhm.
which is when someone donates their home or an asset and then it's held until they pass away. Is that something that the El Dorado Community Foundation can help with?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have an expansive investment team that we work with around charitable annuity trust and charitable remainder trust. Oh, I didn't repeat the question. So Mindy's question was for nonprofits who maybe need a little bit more support in supporting donors with some of the more complex donation opportunities like charitable annuities and charitable remainder trust. Can the foundation help with that? And the answer is yes, we can. I think Mike had the next question.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the endowment portion, you don't touch that, that stays, and it just generates some percentage of interest, and the interest is what becomes the expendable portion?
Sort of. So endowments are invested in perpetuity. Our endowments are in investment accounts, and they continue to grow. The foundation has a spending policy on the dollars that become available to give to nonprofits. Those are the dollars that they give out. Most regularly speaking, most commonly, the endowments give directly then from their available to spend. Sometimes they go into an expendable first and then they give through the expendable. But most regularly, endowments have an available to spend percentage. They give out of the endowment and give to nonprofits through that. Yes, Emma Jean.
Do you want to say anything about QCDs to educate us?
Absolutely. Yes. So Emma Jean's question was, do I want to say anything about QCDs? So a QCD is a qualified charitable distribution, yes, which many of you are aware of. So QCDs can come to the El Dorado Community Foundation in a variety of ways. They can come to the foundation to support foundation operations. They can come to the foundation to support one of our many wonderful funds like Women's Fund El Dorado, like Sierra Renaissance Society. They can come to the foundation to support scholarships. QCDs can be given charitably to a community foundation or your favorite nonprofit for programs and services that don't directly benefit you. So the only time a QCD cannot come to the foundation is if it comes directly to your own fund. So and this is a new IRS change in early 2024. So the IRS, though it is an intrinsic, wonderful benefit to give to nonprofits, the IRS does see that as an individual benefit. So if it's to fund your own donor-advised family fund, we'd ask that you have a scholarship fund or you give it to one of our other many wonderful funds that are supporting wonderful work.
And I just wanted to add that the benefit to you is that it just reduces your required minimum distribution if you have an IRA and you are of that age.
Yeah.
And also, it used to be, it seems to me when we first started, we had to fill out all these forms online and receive checks and mail them out, and now you can actually request a checkbook that's directly out of your IRA that you only use for charity.
That's awesome. So what Emma Jean's saying is, when she's saying we used to have to do all this paperwork, she's not talking about with the foundation. She's talking about with her financial institution. So as she said, at a certain age, right, you have to make required minimum distributions from those IRAs now. As that continues to shift, qualified charitable contributions do count towards that, and so then it reduces the amount that you have to take, which is, well, depending on your tax accountant, but can be taxable. It's in the November newsletter. Yep, absolutely. That's
So
good.
if you are a part of a nonprofit, or you have access to being part of a nonprofit organization in El Dorado County, and you want some money, what do we do?
So if you're part of a nonprofit in El Dorado County and you want some money, what do you do? There are so many funds. So we run 15 competitive grant cycles at the foundation. My first line of advice to you would be make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so you're aware of all of the different competitive grant cycles that we have. The other tool that I will give you is when the community foundation is read in on your nonprofits and your need, the other thing we do is serve as a catalyst and support for our donors. So if you are supporting trees, and then it just so happens that I have a donor that really likes and loves the environment, I am able to foster an introduction and or say, have you heard of this nonprofit? They could really use some extra support. So we're able to convene around those needs. And so reading us in around your nonprofit needs is significant. We don't know what we don't know, right? And I always tell our nonprofits that, like, come and tell me.
So the emails I'm getting on a monthly basis from the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
Do those delineate what those 15 competitive grant cycles are?
Those delineate every competitive grant cycle when it opens. So the one that you will receive in April announces our consolidated spring grant cycle, which opens March 30th. And the consolidated grant spring cycle includes Endow El Dorado, which that's one of the grant cycles that we oversee. That's again like that 3%. It includes Give Tahoe, it includes Hearts and Minds Foundation, it includes letters of inquiries for two of our other funds like Sierra Nevada Foundation and Pay It Forward Project. There's a gamut, and there will be a list of every single one of those in that newsletter, and you can click on it and see what the parameters are to apply. I think we had one question back here, and then I'll come back up.
I was wondering, we're talking about these qualified contributions. Do those have to come out of IRAs, or can they also come out of taxable accounts with capital gains?
So you could do, mostly those are out of IRAs, right? But if you have a situation where you have like appreciated stock, right, that you don't want to pay capital gains on, this is a very common model for donor advised funds for us. So we have individuals who hold investments and they have appreciated stock and they want to sell it, but they want to avoid some capital gains taxes. They donate to the foundation to open a fund rather than selling it, right? Because we can do a direct transfer. So that is how that would work with some of your other holdings that maybe have come to maturity. Okay? Yeah, and I would talk to your investment consultant. And we're happy to meet directly with anyone's direct investment consultant too, to make connections. Go ahead.
It's a lot of accounting balls in the air. How you describe the auditing process?
Yeah, Great question. So he said, describe the auditing process, right? So we are kind of a bank for good. We are a financial institution. We are a 501c3, but we do with those 320 funds. Each of them exist as their own account with us. We undergo an annual third-party audit every single year. We do a request for proposal now for an audit firm. We have an audit committee that sits, and it's developed of community members and board members. Our audit takes 4 or 5 months. So it starts usually the first week of May. Community Foundation's fiscal year runs January to December. We run on a calendar year also. So Sakina, our CFO, closes the books usually by mid-March. If you have a fund with us, your statements were mailed this week because we've closed 12/31 financials. So our auditors then come on site starting in May, and that process goes all the way through until usually board presentation is in September, where the auditors come and present to our board. They do samples and pull paperwork on every single fund that we have, our investment statements, our policies and procedures, our employee handbook. It is a very extensive process, but we're happy to do it to continue to provide transparency and continue to make sure that we're following all of these rules and that we're doing great work, right? Yeah. Yes, Mr. Peak.
How many scholarships do you give annually?
Oh, yeah. So scholarships, we have about nearly 40 scholarship funds now. Oh, sorry. He asked me how many scholarships we give annually. We have about 40 scholarship funds at the foundation that we award. Over the last several years, that's been about $330,000 a year back out to graduating high school students. El Dorado County as a whole, so not just the community foundation, but when we go to all of these scholarship nights, El Dorado County as a whole usually invests actually about $1 million back to our graduating seniors in scholarships, which is pretty fantastic. Community Foundation holds about 1/3 of those. Yeah. Okay, what else? Other questions? Yes, Bill Robinson.
For the Caldwell fire and the pandemic, during the pandemic, what did you learn from those that you can apply to future events potentially like that?
Yes. So Bill's question is, what did we learn from the response of the Caldor fire and pandemic? And I wasn't here, so I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Where's Bill when we need him? I will tell you what we learned because we instituted a lot of the same things around the Crozier fire. There's so much around emergency response. So tracking and opening application is everything. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of people in these times of emergencies that can sometimes take advantage. So having a clear application process, having clear set dollars, having a plan for distribution that's very accessible, going on site to these communities, on site to these, like going to Georgetown to do distribution, right? And then when we do that, making sure we are clear about the required documentation to back up to actually receive those dollars. And then from an audit standpoint, we have signatures for every single one of those cards, making sure all of the backup is really thorough on that. Yeah, we've learned a lot from that. I think when I think into the future on strategies on that, I would really look to partner with some of our nonprofits, right, and give some of those emergency response dollars to them. Let American Red Cross run their distribution, right? Partner with some of our other foundations, partner with some of our other nonprofits who are boots on the grounds. Because sometimes what happens is we give out a lot of money and then American Red Cross will come to us and say, we've got a family that's unhoused, can you help? And we're out of money, right? So engaging our nonprofits earlier too. Yes, Eileen.
Do public, private, you work with our government agencies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes.
Do we work with government agencies?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Community Foundation works with our government agencies when we're called upon to help, like when we were asked to do the community outreach, when we were asked to support the COVID-19 grants. We do not at this time receive significant government funds that we pass through. Oh, there's one exception, actually. We run the vets TOT, or transit occupancy tax dollars. We run those, but come to us. They are government dollars, and we run a competitive grant cycle with our vets commission around that. That is the only regular engagement around the dollars we give out with government. What other questions do you have for me? That's it. All right. Thank you, everyone.